Good evening, everybody. This is a little bit of an unusual beginning to our show, as you might have noticed. We're gonna mix words with music, not just any words. We have Donald D. Hoffman here. Donald is a scientist and philosopher who has created a new theory of reality. And he just brought out a book called The Case Against Reality. So he took a different route to studying the universe. He started with consciousness. And perhaps we should play one of these samples.
We create reality. We create reality. We create reality. We create reality.
So as you might have noticed, he believes that we create reality. What do you mean by that?
That space and time and physical objects as we perceive them are a virtual reality that we're creating in the moment. I look at Wenzel, I create the face that I see. I look away and I delete that face and then I create it again. So we're creating space and time and physical objects like you were having a headset on in virtual reality.
Isn't that very counterintuitive? Has anybody thought that that might be the case?
That means that you're God.
And you too. Donald, can you tell us a little bit more about why this theory is useful in science?
Right, so this theory follows from evolution by natural selection. So it turns out it's a theorem of evolution by natural selection that evolution will not favor organisms that see the truth. It will only favor organisms that create virtual realities that hide the truth, but allow them to act adaptively, to survive long enough to reproduce. So that's what sort of led me to make this very strong pronouncement that we don't see the truth, because evolution by natural selection actually entails that as a theorem. So it's wild. That raises the question of what's behind this virtual reality.
So you're saying that the human organism has evolved a virtual reality that allows it to survive in a reality that we don't perceive.
That's right. That's right.
Seeing the truth will drive you extinct. Seeing the truth will drive you extinct.
Interesting. Interesting. Very strange. Do many scientists agree with this theory?
No. Most of my colleagues in the neurosciences think that we see not all of the truth, but we see enough of the truth that we can stay alive. So we see those truths that are important for us to stay alive. But I've been able to prove with my colleagues that that's just not the case. So evolution by natural selection is a mathematical theory. And so we can actually not just wave our hands and guess what evolution would do. We can prove that creatures that see the truth will go extinct when they compete against creatures that see none of the truth and just have a headset that hides the truth and lets them do adaptive actions. So I like to think about space and time and physical objects as like the desktop on your computer. So suppose you're writing an email and the icon for your email is blue and rectangular and in the middle of your desktop. Does that mean that the file in your computer is blue, rectangular, and in the middle of your computer? Of course not. Anybody who thought that misunderstands the whole point of the desktop interface. The interface is there not to show you the truth, which in this metaphor would be the circuits and software and voltages. The desktop interface is there to hide the truth and give you simple eye candy that lets you control the truth even though you're utterly ignorant about its nature. And that's what evolution did for us. It gave us a three-dimensional desktop. And physical objects are like the 3D icons. And it's there explicitly to hide the truth. We don't need the truth. and it just guides behavior, just like your desktop interface. If you had to toggle voltages to write an email, your friends would never hear from you. And that's what evolution has done. It's given us simple eye candy that lets us control reality, even though we're utterly ignorant about the reality.
So you say we don't need the truth. So there is a truth beyond this physical reality?
That's right. So this suggests evolution by natural selection entails that space, three-dimensional space and time are not fundamental reality. They are just a data structure that you create to represent fitness payoffs and how to get them. And physical objects are just data structures that represent fitness payoffs and how to get them. They only exist when you create them. So to be very, very clear, the moon only exists when you perceive it. There is a reality, but it's not in space and time. It's utterly unlike anything in space and time. So we all will look and see the moon every time we look, because there is some reality out there, but it's not in space and time, and it's not the moon. The moon is what we see when we look. Just like the blue rectangular icon on your screen, there's nothing in the computer that resembles that at all. I mean, that's what you see, but it's not the truth behind the interface. And so the moon is just another symbol. That's what we see, but behind it is another reality outside of space and time. And it's a separate theory that I'm working on about what that is. So the first part of the work is just to prove that this isn't the truth. This is just a user interface. And then the next step is to ask, okay, can we get a science of what's behind space and time that we're perceiving as space and time?
In a way, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Buddhism, where the idea is that the physical reality is an illusion, and that there is a primary reality which isn't defined by any of the, not defined by the rules that we experience here. And in Buddhism, that is, what is it called? Buddhism? Is it?
I know in Hinduism they have something called Maya. That's
Maya
similar.
and Atman.
And Atman, that's right, that's right.
Reality.
So it's very similar.
So it's actually, in Greece also you find Gnosticism, the idea that the reality is an illusion. So it's actually a very old idea that you put into new terminology, because we have now evolved to a level of digital information processing where our technological process is giving us new terminology to understand ancient ideas.
Absolutely. It's very hard for us to imagine that we don't see the truth, right? We used to think the earth is flat. 2,500 years ago, Pythagoras did the math and figured out the earth was more like a sphere. But it was really hard for people to grasp that the earth isn't flat, and there are still some people who think the earth is flat. And then 400 or 500 years ago, so for about 2,000 years we thought, okay, the earth is like a sphere, but it's the center of the universe and it doesn't move. Everything goes around the earth. Again, because it looks like that. And then it was Copernicus and Galileo who were the smart lights that figured out, okay, no, this is not the center of the universe. But people were burned at the stake for saying that this isn't the center of the universe. Galileo was sent to house prison, house arrest for this. And so we're very, very much feeling like we see the truth, and it really hurts to think that we don't. And so, but I'm saying those were just warm-ups. Space-time and physical objects themselves, that whole framework could not describe objective reality. It's the wrong language. Space and time and objects and shapes and colors, motions and textures, that language could not give a true description of objective reality, whatever reality might be.
What can we do with these insights? How do they pertain to our life? How do you think, it's interesting as an intellectual framework, does it also have emotional significance to our life?
It does. It means that something that we've deeply believed is deeply false. And it also means that who we are might be something very different from what we thought. we think of ourselves as just a physical body. And what this is saying is your body is just a symbol. It's a desktop symbol. That's not who you really are. And the theory that I'm proposing right now is that conscious agents are the ultimate reality. There's a vast social network of interacting conscious agents. And you can sort of see this firsthand if you look at your face in the mirror. What you see directly is just skin, hair, and eyes. But what you don't see, but you know firsthand is real, is your hopes, your desires, your aspirations, your headache, the colors and shapes that you're seeing. In other words, the whole rich world of your conscious experiences is hidden behind a little symbol, your face. But you know firsthand the face is just a symbol. The reality is far deeper. And I'm saying that that's true everywhere. All of these things are symbols in space and time, and behind it is this vast realm of conscious agents. So think of it like the Twitterverse. There are tens of millions of Twitter users, billions of tweets, lots of stuff trending. You couldn't listen to see all the tweets. You couldn't interact with all the users. So what do? To understand it, you have, for big data, big social data, you have a visualization tool that helps you to compress it into something that you can understand. And that's what evolution did. Space and time and physical objects are a visualization tool that we use to interact with a vast social network of conscious agents. And so, personally, this means that we have to wake up as a species. To wake up to that this that we thought was the truth is just the visualization tool. The truth is behind it. And so there's whole levels of awakening that various spiritual traditions have already hinted at. But now for the first time, we might be able to use the tools of science to actually, with mathematical precision, begin to explore that world in concert with the spiritual traditions.
So it's essentially a bridge between what spiritual seekers and ancient philosophers have known and the evolution of modern science.
That's right.
So that we can bridge those two worlds.
Absolutely. I do see science and religion have had an antagonistic relationship for hundreds of years. Essentially, since Galileo was imprisoned, scientists have said no to religious stuff. And they've been antagonistic. But now I think that the methods of science where we have precise theories that we try to disprove, so we try to be very precise and then figure out where we're wrong. Take that with the insights from spiritual traditions, we could begin to use scientific methods to probe the big questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What is this all about? Why is there evil?
Well, thank you so much for sharing these very thought-inspiring concepts.
Thank you.
If any one of you wants to know more about Donald's work, he has a book at the merch table, and he has a TED Talk that you can watch online if you want to deepen your research into the world of conscious agents. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to have a very strange and beautiful opening of a night of music. Mixing words and sounds